Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday, the 10th of January. It's 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. in the UK. I just have to get the legal bits and pieces out of the way first of all, so please just bear with me. This webinar is for information and education only. Nothing said, not said, or implied is a solicitation to buy or sell, to trade or not trade in any vehicle whatsoever. And please be aware that I am not a registered financial advisor. Great, we got that out of the way. Thanks very much for taking the time to join me. I don't want to go on for too long and take up too much of your afternoon or evening. So what I'm going to briefly do is introduce myself, and then we'll go and look at a few charts, and I will then try and show how the methodology that I use can make them readable and accessible to anyone. And finally, what I'm going to do is talk about my new website, which is now up and running. And what I'm also going to do, because I am really bad at this technical stuff with webinars, is I'm going to ignore all questions until the end. So apologies about that. I will answer questions at the end if you can hang on till that. Okay, well, first of all, look, a few words about me. For those that don't know me already, my name is Ben Drage, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm British. I'm based in the UK. A little bit of my background: I read law at Oxford University, started work in 1982 in the City of London, working in the money markets, and I was there from 82 to 98, working really on the what was the nascent interest rate swap market. I left in 98 in order to concentrate on my personal trading, and that's pretty much what I've been doing since. Right, now that we've got that out of the way, let's go and have a look at some charts and see what I mean when I talk about decoding the markets. The first thing, the most important thing to me, is to have an uncluttered chart. All over the place you see people putting up on Twitter, you see charts which have got RSI, MACD, Elliott wave, all this kind of rubbish on it, and all it actually does to me is it obscures the single most important factor out there, the single most important thing, which is price. So what I do is I get rid of all that. I don't look at RSI, I don't look at MACD, moving averages, anything like that. I look at price, and what I try and do is, using pitchforks, median line analysis, the pitchfork like you see here, what I try and do is put that on top of price to try and make sense of what price is doing. If you look at the chart ahead of you, that's the Aussie dollar on a daily basis, and I guess that most people would say that it makes sense to them, in that you can see that there's resistance along this line here, you can see that there's support along this line here. That then broke, we moved to the downside, and again you can pick up supports and resistances. It basically makes sense. It's the kind of chart, in short, that you could probably go away and trade successfully and with confidence. And the reason for that is because you can see the pattern in the chart. Okay, our brains are very simple, but they are wired to respond to patterns. So when you see the pattern in a chart, you're comfortable with it. That's the same chart without any lines on it. Does it make as much sense? There's always one wag that says yes, it does. No, nobody said it makes any sense to them. Look, again, it's just very, very simple. Normal analysis, most people are going to be doing it. They're going to be taking lines, they're going to be drawing lines across here, saying, we've got resistance there, maybe, we've got some horizontal support across here. Definitely got some here. Look at that. Yeah, that works well. By looking at median lines, we can give so much more nuance, so much more detail to the trading. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pitchfork. I'm going to go from a low up to a high point, down to a low point there, and all of a sudden it just begins to make a little bit more sense, doesn't it? Okay, you can see this bit of support we've got here, we drop, but that's not good enough. I don't think that's good enough. By changing the type of pitchfork we use, like that, all of a sudden it starts to make a little bit more sense. And it makes even more sense when I start adding little sliding parallels, support and resistance across there, and even outside the main body of the fork. I don't mind if we're outside or if we're inside the fork. What we're looking at is trying to say what happens, trying to follow the path of price. Okay, so even though we're outside the fork here, you can see price came down, we found support pretty much at an anticipated place. The fact that this is all regular spacing, okay, we picked up support there, we moved up. What happened? Where we have a little bit of prior support here along the lower parallel, when we fell through that, we've had 3 days, 1, 2, 3, that we've been bumping up against that. So what effectively that is support there was a resistance. And the move that you see here on the daily chart from 71.65 down at this line, which is the outer quartile, up to here at the lower parallel 73.75, it's pretty much 200 points. And you know, I don't know if you're with me, but to me that looks like an easy way to trade. When you can see these lines, you know, when they're there on the chart for you to see, it's a lot easier than looking at them, looking at this nakedly and saying, well, yeah, I think price might have bottomed there, you know, possibly got a horizontal across there. For me, just drawing on the pitchfork, let me just try and put that back. It didn't work. I love it when it doesn't work. On a live webinar, things never work. Never do live webinars, never work with children or dogs. Let me just draw it in again. High, low, high. There you go. We've put in this line there. You can see this is working. It makes an awful lot of sense. The pattern becomes a lot more clear. I mean, really, the holy grail of trading or investing, whatever it is you do, is to find likely areas of support and resistance. And when you've done that, you can trade with confidence. That's why when we look at the charts, we're looking for these patterns that I'm talking about. Let's go and do this again. This is Japanese yen. I already know what I'm going to do here, but somebody coming to it fresh would probably look at horizontals. They'd probably find something down here. They draw a horizontal across there. Yeah, that works quite nice. Maybe across these lows, 1, 2, 3, yeah, but we pushed above it, came back down. Not hugely helpful, I guess you'd probably say. Here's me, comes to it with a fork. We go from this low, we go up to this high, we come down to this low again. Are you ahead of me? You can see all this support down here. This is a daily yen chart that we were following. We moved from 101.30, okay, that was in the beginning of November, 101.30 down here. We pushed up. Where did we hit resistance? 118.83. Massive rise, 1750 points from the lower parallel to the median line. Okay, what happened when we hit the median line? We just backed off a little bit. But again, you know, we can add a bit more nuance to it. Those sliding parallels that I was using a little bit earlier, if I just put one across here from that high, you can see we moved up, we came up to it, hit the median line, came back down, found a bit of support, moved up again, didn't quite find that support. So what I'm going to do, go to the next high, a little bit lower down, draw that one across there. And as you can see, that is what we're currently following. Resistance there, resistance here, became support, strong bar to the upside. Whenever you see strong bars moving from a line, you know that that's a solid line, that's a strong line. It's kind of like, I always say, you know, if you're going to launch a rocket, you do it from a concrete pad, you don't do it from a marsh. So there we go, nice strong bid up there, nice strong move up there. We went to the median line, came back down again. Where do we find support? Along this line. We're looking to see now if this line holds. Okay, it's not an absolute line in the sand. It's not going to have to hold. What it does with us, what it helps us do, is build up a picture of what's happening, where the trend is getting stronger in the fork, whether it's getting a little bit weaker in the fork. And all I'm really doing, you know, with these forks is I'm just trying to give a little bit of context to what is happening, a framework to where price is moving. You know, price was moving all the way down here. We followed that previously with a different fork. We started to see things change. We started to see the price begin to look to move to the upside, move sideways, move upward, move to the upside. So all we did was we looked for something to give context, to give a framework to the price. There's nothing magical about the pitchfork. It puts it into a structure where we can look for high probability areas of support and resistance. So whether you're a newbie or a seasoned professional, remember, when you see a pattern in a chart, you can trade you can trade the chart, and you can also trade it with a lot more confidence. Right, I've been looking at daily charts here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down. I'm going to go and look at a 20-minute chart. This is the same game we're playing here. Okay, this is, let me just increase the size of the chart here. This is DX, dollar index on a 20-minute chart. Basically moving to the downside. We can see that. Again, I'm going to take the pitchfork. Just go from a high down to a low, up to a high again, put it in place there. And what I'm going to do, I like my downforks to be red, so I'm just painting that color. And here you can already see we're beginning to put this into a little bit of context. You can see if you look along the median line of the fork, support, bit messy, support and resistance work there. When price came down, it hit the median line and it pushed to the upside again. And those of you that are already members, or those of you that are particularly sharp, will probably look at that sliding parallel there. And you'll notice resistance, fell away, resistance. And that's what we're pushing against. Okay, so this line here is a likely line of resistance. When price moved up, this is an area that we were anticipating seeing a little bit of resistance in. Okay, we can go a bit further. This is maybe a little bit more advanced than some of you that are coming to forks completely fresh will want to see. But, just by seeing where support is in the fork, forget about looking on the horizontal. Okay, this is the median line. It was support. Next time we came down to the quartile, support, moved up again. Down beneath the quartile, that was support. We started moving up. We spiked down to the quartile. Support for me is stepping up from here to here. Even though they're virtually horizontally the same, it's lower in the fork, it's nearer the lower parallel than this is. Okay, so we are getting a little bit stronger in terms of the fork. So when we come up and hit the resistance at the sliding parallel, we come back down, and once more support is just that wee bit higher, and up we go again. So what that tells me is the likelihood that we're going to be pushing through this sliding parallel is increasing, because the support is higher from here, it's higher here, it's higher here. So what we can start to do is just think ahead a little bit and start saying, well, okay, if price does start moving to the upside, we're going to be putting in a fork to the upside. And lo and behold, look what we've got here already, ABC. You can see the price is already beginning to find a little bit of support along here. So even before we breach the green sliding parallel, the line, even before we breach it, we can just get an instinct, get a feeling that, maybe something is going on here. Maybe price is looking to push above that level. What everyone else is going to be doing is they're going to be looking here and they're going to say, look, price, it's trying to push above the horizontal there. And, down here we've got support. We might find it just a little bit higher than that. We can do an awful lot better than that. And that's what I think that the median line helps us do. Let me show you one more. I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to move over. Hang on just one sec. Let me just flip to another. Let me just go back there. I'm just getting a little bit of interference. I need to go back and sort this out. Okay, here we go. This is sterling, again on a 20-minute chart. Again, this is something that members have been looking at for a number of days. Again, how would you normally do this? You'd say, okay, we got a bit of resistance there. It's a little bit above where we are here. Horizontals, we're going to move across here, see if we find anything. Okay, that's quite nice. This is obviously an important point here. Let's go again. High, low, high. Once more. Up there. Red, because I like my downforks to be red. And already we're beginning, maybe, we just got to fill in the gaps a little bit here. Okay, sliding parallels. Let's look at those. Let's go from this low. See what we got. Not absolutely perfect, but let's move this down a bit. Let's take it down here, just see what we've got. Okay, we're kind of picking up support down here, quite like the way that's working. Let's take a clone of this. Let's go maybe from this low across here. See what we're finding. I like that a lot more. Support becomes resistance, and we're just pushing against that and just falling away from it a little bit. Remember, this is a 20-minute chart. This is not going to take you a million miles. This is, I often call them canaries, because what they're basically doing is they're telling you what the bigger charts are going to be doing. All right. As you can see, if I just flip over, that's the chart we're currently watching, or members are currently watching. That's the chart we've just drawn. Nice and simple. Okay. Right, this is 20-minute chart. What I'm going from here is I'm going to go up to a weekly chart. We're going to go and have a look at Euro Yen. Somebody actually else sent me a question about this. This is euro yen on the weekly, okay? Just to show you that the methodology works from all time frames. You know, we were down at 20-minute time frame earlier on. We're now looking at a weekly time frame. This chart, the blue fork here, starts back in 2001, okay? All the way up to here, all the way down here. And my entire charting of this is based off this line. Sliding parallel, and price fell away. When price started falling, we thought, or I thought, that this fork would likely work. So I waited all the way from the end of 2014, and here midway through 2016 we hit the lower parallel. Okay, if I move in a little bit closer on this, you can see where we got support. Moved down from up here, a high of near enough 150 down to a low of 109. That's 4,000 points it moved. We saw a whole load of support stepping up along this line here. And then from, well, I suppose this is the last touch, 113, 112.98, 113, let's call it. We saw a price move all the way up here to sliding parallel resistance at 124.14. That's 1,000 points. Okay, on a weekly chart, that is 1,000 points, and the chart's an awful lot bigger than that. But let me just point out this sliding parallel. How did we? I won't say no. Why did we expect price to find a little bit of resistance? Well, it goes back to what I was saying. It's a very, very, very big bar, this. Look at the size of that. That is the bar that was caused by Brexit. Okay, massive volatility. But look, even within that, it was pretty much contained by the lower parallel. Yeah, okay, we went underneath it, but after a 4,000 point move, I think we can, maybe give ourselves 100 points or so one way or the other. Really, really big bar. So all I did was I just drew sliding parallel, the same angle that we've got the fork as. We drew this, and that's exactly what we've hit. I mean, I don't know if I can go in close enough to show you how exact this is, but it's, it is so tight. Actually, that is even slightly wrong. Let me just put that in place there. That's a precise touch by anyone's standard. So what this, I hope, shows you is that the methodology is accurate. It works whether you're looking at a 20-minute chart, whether you're looking at a 5-minute chart. I mean, I know some people that even trade ticks off it. I don't. I spend too long sitting in the city watching a dot on a screen. I tend to trade 240s and weeklies, but that's my business. Anyway, what I'm saying is this works whether you're looking at a weekly chart, whether you're looking at a 20-minute chart, and everything in between. Okay, up until now we just looked at currencies. Let me go and change slightly. I'm going to look at, this is the Aussie Index. I don't suppose we've got any Aussies in at this time of day. It's kind of early for them, but you never know. Again, this is a weekly chart of the Aussie 200, and again, it looks obvious, doesn't it? You've got the support down here. You can see the line. You can see all this support running along here. You can see when it pushed higher, we hit resistance, anticipated, came down, found support all the way along here. Okay. How do we know that was the high? How do we know we pick up support here? What about these bars? These are spikes down. Why did we find these? Again, undo, delete, put it back in. That's all I'm doing. Nice and simply, one chart from this A here. What we did, we originally put an Andrews fork in like this, changed it again as you want. You see which one fits the best. Okay, I'm not going to go into the methodologies behind the forks at the moment. I'm just trying to show how it can be a really, really useful tool to traders or investors. So there you go, all the way from back here, down here, lower parallel touches, couple of these, 39.90. We moved up as high as 60.40. Really nice move. Came down. Once we moved through the support of the lower parallel of the median line across here, we fell to the lower parallel. We found our support. Last few days since the US election, we've had a big spike up from there, and prices moved strongly on. Where's it moved up to on the weekly? Up to the median line at 58.25 or so. I've also got this on a daily chart, and again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to take away the chart and just leave you to look at these. I put these arrows in because these are the resistances. How would you know these are resistances? Even if I didn't have this line across here. Okay, let me get rid of that as well. Oh, I know what's going to happen now. I'm going to undo, delete, and all I'm going to get is the line back. Yep, great. Never listen to me. I'm hopeless when it comes to these webinars, as I said. So we're just drawing high, low, high. Change that to, sorry, it's this high here. There you go, across there. That's the fork we're looking at. And you can see resistance, 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 resistance. It's constant. On the horizontals, it doesn't work at all. When we stop looking at the horizontals, when we start looking along the path of price, along the angle of the fork, this is what we find with all these, with resistances there. What would I look at if price dips a little bit? Look down to the median line. This is the place where I would look for to see if we find support. Reason, it was resistance back here, it was resistance back here, kind of support there, didn't work brilliantly, worked as support back here a little bit. But when you see an area of resistance, let me just play with these arrows again, when you see an area of resistance and it turns into an area of support, something like that, that is potentially bullish. You know, it's the same as if we're looking on a horizontal and resistance becomes support. So given what we're seeing here, I still think we're going to find resistance along this quartile. If we start pushing above it, I mean, what the methodology doesn't do is it doesn't actually forecast the future faultlessly. It tells you the areas to look for support and resistance. If we pushed above that quartile there, the next place I'd be looking would be a high in the line of the fork of that high. So if we get through 58.43, I'm looking at 59.15, depending obviously where it is that we touch it, because you've got an upsloping line, so it is going to change very slightly. Right, let's go and look at something else. Let's go and have a look at XLE. This is the Energy Etf, and again, you know, it looks quite interesting. What are we going to do? We're probably going to draw a horizontal line from these lows somewhere there. Okay, that works quite nicely. Something else, one across there maybe. Yeah, and maybe we're going to get a slope to the upside. Kind of like that. Once more, we can get a huge amount more information. All we do, we take our pitchfork tool, A, B, C, it starts to make more sense. Okay, that is just the basic tool. You can see support along the median line here. You can see resistance along the quartile here. We pushed above the quartile. We're coming back down. We're testing it. We're going to see if that works or not. But what about this little bump up here? Well, again, you know, all we need to do is just draw a sliding parallel off these highs here. And it works. You see, it's all in the line of the fork. We pushed up. We found resistance. Pushed above it. Came back down. Found resistance. Let me just move in a little bit tighter. Found resistance all the way across here, started moving to the downside. And you know, it is a very simple method. You get rid of the lines, you don't really know why. You don't know why it works, but work it does. You know, this is the chart we've been looking at. We've been watching this support. A little bit of detail coming into it just underneath the median line. We've been watching the resistance at the quartile. When we push strongly above it, we look for our next resistance. We pushed above that, just shot above that for a few days, came back down, and we're now watching this again. Looking, you know, we're going to look across the quartile here, which is pretty much where we are now. If we start picking up support there, then we're going to anticipate moving a little bit higher. If we move back beneath the quartile, all we're going to do is look to see if this becomes resistance once more. If it does, we start looking to the downside. We start thinking about a move down maybe to prior support. It's very simple. Support and resistance tend to move in harmony. When support pushes up, resistance pushes up. When the resistance presses down on price, you start to lose support as well. That is the way that markets do tend to roll and to move. Okay, so far what I've done is I've shown you things which move in a consistent line. You know, we've got XLE has been moving up consistently. You know, we can see that even without the lines. What I'm going to go and do now is go and look at everyone's favorite gold and silver. Okay, and look at what we do when price is falling, and falling pretty much like a knife in many senses. This is gold on a daily basis. Do we have many people that look at the precious metals here? I bet we do. Yeah, you just look at that a sec. I'm going to have a slurp of water. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm back with you. Right, what I wanted to say about this was we've been watching gold move to the upside, pretty significant moves through the course of December. When we got up to these highs, we started tailing off a little bit. Very, very early on, we started recognizing that there was potentially a fork to the downside. I would say it was probably early August or so we were looking at this, and as you can see, what's happened very, very clearly here, the price moves along, found resistance along these upper parallels, fell away, we found support at the median line, we pushed up again, and this is the early November, this is the election, and you can see very clearly what happened. Yeah, we pushed a little bit above the upper parallel, but a really, really strong bar to the downside, and that carried through all the way. Okay, again, what I'm going to do, just get rid of that. It's difficult to actually pin out. If you're looking horizontals, you'd be more worried about these horizontals across here, and why did this happen? Couldn't really tell. So all we do, again, just draw the fork in. A, B, C up there, turn it red, and that's what we're looking. So look, we saw this resistance along the upper parallel of the fork, up at 1336, 1340. Price shot really, really solidly lower. 2 days. Our previous resistance was the median line. We were looking to see if we found resistance here, found support here. I'm sorry, our last support was the median line. We were looking to see if we found support here, 1236. We didn't. We went underneath it. We came back up, and as you can see here, the support turned into resistance, and we continued to the downside, and we kept on moving to the downside. Where did we eventually end up? The lower parallel of the fork. We've moved all the way from the upper parallel here, 1339, down to 1123. That's 210 pips or something, 210 bucks or so. Really solid move. But we weren't looking at this in isolation. Okay, yes, we were anticipating that we might see a little bit of support coming down here because of the downsloping fork. But another thing we're looking at, I'm just going to go on to the next chart here. This is the same red fork to the downside. I'm being a little bit canny here because I don't want to give away all the secrets that members are actually paying for. But we had another fork, as you can see, down here, this lower parallel line. And look, we hit that. I mean, I'm going to go in a little bit tighter on this again. We hit that virtually to a T. We hit the lower parallel precisely. We were $2 away on the blue line. The red line was exact. The blue line was $2 away, and that is after a $210 fall. Okay. I don't think I'm giving away too many secrets to say what we've been looking at since then. We looked for the price to move to the upside. We were looking at this green sliding parallel. You can see the resistance, bit of support there. A little bit messy here, but we pushed up from the lower parallel, the blue lower parallel, the red lower parallel, up to this. We had 3 days we've paused at this level. Today, we're looking to see if we can push above it. I want to see the close above 1182. It's $2 or $3 above that. We had a nice little pop to the upside. It's $2 or $3 above that at the moment. I want to see that continue. I want to see the price close above 1182. And what I then want to say is this green sliding parallel that we'd identified, resistance there, becoming support, that is bullish, and price may move further to the upside. Okay, I'm not saying, and a lot of people that use forks say this, if price hits the median line, it's going to hit the lower parallel, it's going to hit the median line. There's an X percentage chance of that. I don't look at that at all. I don't care about that. What I'm watching is supports and resistances. What I'm looking to see is if the resistance that we have along this green sliding parallel, we push up above it. If we find support there, move to the upside, I want to know about it. Right, I'm going to come back and look at gold in a minute in a different way. Let me just show you silver. This is the same idea. We had a fork to the downside. I'm not showing you that at the moment. Again, I'm not showing this whole blue fork out of deference to members, but as you can see, lower parallel, we've got support here. We came down, we moved all the way down from 21.25 or so. We got a low of 15.70, and I mean, that is, to me, pretty exact. Okay. Would you have, well, I would say one thing, you have to know how to trade these as well. There is absolutely no way, as soon as this price was falling and you hit 1574, that you would buy there. okay, because you don't know whether this line's working. The fact that we got this really strong bar from down here at 1568, moved all the way up and closed at 1616, really against the trend that we've seen, okay, that tells you that maybe something is happening. So price comes down, we nestle there for another day, and then we start moving to the upside. This begins to tell you that the lower parallel of the fork is working, that price is beginning to move to the upside. What we're looking at since then, again, the green sliding parallel, support back here. You can see, if I move in a bit tighter, we had support there, pushed up, fell strongly underneath it, took a big bar to get through it, and then it started becoming resistance. For 4 or 5 bars it became resistance. Since then, we gradually worked our way above that. What I'm now looking at is to see if this green sliding parallel, this resistance, is now becoming support, and whether we can in fact move a little bit more to the upside. Now, obviously, we don't just look at daily charts. Okay, what I'm going to do is look at silver on a 20-minute chart now. I've posted this on occasions onto Twitter, so I expect you're fairly used to seeing this chart. Again, we start seeing price. Let's take it back a bit. We start seeing price move to the upside, and we're beginning to look for ways to document that, to delineate it, to show it, to really explain what price is doing. Okay, without the fork. Let me just take this off again. I mean, that's a nice move, and you're looking at your horizontals, etc., etc., etc. Put the fork back in, and you can really see what's happening here. Okay, initially, I think we kind of found it here. I mean, I spend all day drawing forks, so I put into the chat room for my members, 60, 70, 80 charts a day of various likelihoods of working. Some of them we know work, some of them I'm saying, just track this. Others I'm saying, hey, if this happens, maybe we're going to look at this fork. I think this was one of them. We found the support down here at the lower parallel. We started seeing this. We saw price move to the upside, really strong move, and okay, it didn't reach the upper parallel. We were hoping maybe it would. If we got a move from, say, 1598 to 1660, not only would that have been very profitable, but if we hit that and moved away again, we would have very much proven that the fork works. Instead, what happens? We fall back, and where do we find our support? It comes in along the median line. All right? We've got the lower parallel. We've got the median line. We start moving to the upside again, fail just shy of the upper parallel. Okay, but we're now fairly confident that what we see is a fork that's working. And even a few days back, I think this was on Friday, non-farm payrolls. I think, non-farm payrolls notoriously volatile. What had happened? Price fell. It fell virtually to the pip, to the lower parallel, since when we've been moving up again. Okay, so all through the last few days, what we've been watching is we've been watching this support, we've been watching the resistance that you can see along the median line here, and just looking to see if anything changed. Okay, the last few hours, or today, this afternoon, depends which time zone you're in, you've seen price get support here, move up. We moved above the median line temporarily. We tried to get above it. We've come back down, and we're making another attempt to get up and above it. All right. It's a lot easier than just putting in this horizontal and saying beneath it, beneath it, beneath it. Oh, we're above it, right? Let's lose that. What we are potentially looking at, though, is a slightly stepped up high. A slightly stepped up low. From down here, okay, potentially we're seeing some highs a little bit, some lows a little bit higher. I know it's confusing. I get confused. We are seeing potentially higher lows from down here to up here. And what I said earlier, when you see supports pushing up, you tend to find resistances fading. We've seen that potentially with the median line that was prior resistance. We've pushed up above it, looking to see if that will now lead us on to a slightly larger move higher. All I'm going to do here, so I'm just going to draw a sliding parallel of that high, keep a little watch at that. That is potentially my next resistance. If we can get up above the median line, particularly if it was prior resistance, if it starts becoming support. So if on this bar or the next bar we start seeing support at 1686, potentially we're going to be looking to move up at 1697. Does that make a bit of sense to people? I hope it does. Right, I'm going to go from there. I'm also going to just quickly look at gold on the 60s. We've got a similar situation in that. Ever since we've been seeing the lows again, we find an ABC, we start seeing a bit of support, we start seeing things happen in the line of the fork. Okay, down here, as you can see, price dipped beneath the lower parallel. Some people, again, who look at forks, as soon as they see that, they just throw the fork away. I don't. All I want to see is that price is moving consistently in the angle, in the line that we're following. Okay, so the fact that we had this little low and that we moved up pretty strongly from that, came back down. Where was I anticipating support? Well, I would have liked to have found it here at the lower parallel. You can see previous support we've seen at the lower parallel. Let me just move that a bit higher. But the fact that we did dip beneath it, the fact that we actually dipped down to the sliding parallel, again found support there, and also we started getting some strong bars there. Okay, remember what I was saying about strong bars being predictive of a strong floor? Strong bars there, we started moving to the upside, and that is what we followed. If you look at the way we moved on, price moved up, price pushed up, we hit the upper parallel, we moved up above it. Now again, look at this, we had a little dip beneath the lower parallel, we've had a little bit of move above the upper parallel. Let me just put a line in there. You notice the gap here is pretty similar to the gap we've got there, and all that tells me is that we've got the angle right. What's happening is that price is fluctuating, reflecting around this median line, the median line of the fork. This is our principal axis that we're looking to track, and that is all we do. And what we do is we feed in these 60-minute charts, these 20-minute charts, we feed them into two 40-minute charts, slightly bigger, we feed them into the dailies, and we gradually build up a picture of what is happening. Okay. Now, the metal service, I just want to quickly show you one more chart. We also look at other currencies. We don't just look at gold and silver in dollars. This is silver on a weekly in British pounds. Okay, absolutely massive fork here. Again, I'm going to get rid of that. Forget about these lines. People are going to be looking at the horizontals. They're going to be seeing, all these horizontals, all these resistances, etc., etc., etc. You put the fork in, you start to get an awful lot more sense into it. Again, not enough bars to really know whether this is a valid fork, but I can tell you that I was watching like a hawk. Being in the UK, I was watching like a hawk this line here. When price came down and touched it and started to move off it, you could buy gold for £12.63 or so per ounce. Sorry, you could buy silver for £12.63. If we could buy gold for £12.63, I don't think I'd be here. But anyway, you could buy silver for £12.63. Prices started moving to the upside, and you can see the enormous potential that this has got. I mean, absolutely massive. The high back here was £30. Okay, £30 in 2011. The angle that the fork is moving to is absolutely immense. £45 that upper parallel is at the moment, but I can assure you by the time we get there, if we do eventually get there, it's going to be a heck of a lot higher than that. Okay, so again, that is just showing you a little bit of what we can do with currencies, with gold and silver in other currencies as well. Well, that is, I guess, a quick run through of some interesting charts. I hope I can see some questions coming through. I'll leave the questions, guys, right until the end, if you don't mind. I hope those charts are interesting, particularly for those of you that are used to what I call lagging indicators, the kind of derivatives like RSI or MACD. And it might have been a little bit of an eye-opener as how we can project forward, how we can look to find likely areas of support and resistance. Okay, and that really is what Forex-Analytics is all about. I'm desperate to try and produce clear and uncluttered charts. I mean, something which has got Elliott wave written all over it, which has got volume, RSI, MACDs, you name it, Fibonacci's, just doesn't interest me. All of those are derivatives of the most important factor, which is price, what price is doing. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is produce clear, uncluttered charts, and by doing that, we can show high probability, low risk entries and exits. Because, as I hope I've shown in this webinar, once you can put a pattern onto a chart, you can understand that chart, and when you understand the chart, in turn, you can successfully trade it. Okay. Now, Look, just very quickly, I just want to talk about Forex Analytics, the service, and then I'll come back and answer questions, I promise, in a few minutes, okay? We have two daily services, metals analysis, market analysis. Metals analysis looks at the precious metals, that's it. Market analysis includes precious metals, but also looks at Forex, indices, commodities. And as you've seen, also particularly interesting for some big moves, some non-dollar pairs. Every day we've got daily video analysis. I put that out before the London Open, and I try and highlight moves and key areas to watch through the next session and also through coming days. I mentioned chat rooms. We've got a couple of live chat rooms. You can put your own charts or analysis into that, and as I say, I tend to put, I guess, about 60 or 70 charts into those over the course of the dealing day. We also have a couple of live webinars every week, a little bit like this, but we tend to go through the key charts, looking at supports and resistances, rather than, as I've done here, kind of explain what I'm all about. And I guess the idea for them is to be slightly educational as well. Again, just hang on one sec, I'm going to have another slurp of water. So there you go. I hope I've given you a little bit of an idea of what it is that I look to do in, as I say, trying to simplify the charts and put the moves that we see into an understandable and therefore a tradable context. And while I think that the methodology has great benefits, and I hope you've seen them for both traders and investors, I appreciate that for many people it's a bit of a step out of the mainstream. Okay, but I really like the quote that says, if you want to have a better performance than the crowd, you have to do things differently from the crowd. And I certainly think that using median line analysis, the pitchforks, that we are able to do that. Anyway, this has been probably a fairly intensive, high-speed webinar. If you are intrigued and you want to find out a little bit more about it, well, please go and have a look at the website, www.Forex-Analytics.com. And on that, you'll see that I have a special introductory offer on the go at the moment. You can take a full trial of the whole service for a month for just $50. And because it's New Year, if you don't like what you see after 2 weeks or before 2 weeks, let me know and I will refund that full amount to you. Okay, so it's absolutely no risk to yourselves at all. If you don't like what you see after 2 weeks, you can have your money back, there's no problem. And also on the site, if you go and have a look at it, there's some more videos there and a little bit more information, so you can go and have a look around, and if you have any questions you can always email me. What I will do is, after this webinar, I'm going to send you guys a recording of this so you can look at it in a little bit more in your own time a bit more, and also there's a link to the site and also a link to my email if you want to contact me at all. Right, great, that is basically what I was going to all I was going to be looking at. I've been seeing a few messages come through. James is saying, do you trade oil? I look at oil. I have to say, what I'm not a trading service. Okay, I do not say buy here, sell there. Okay, but what you'll see from the charts, I hope, is an awful lot of opportunities over the course of the day, where or the day, the week, whatever, where you might see where you can effectively trade for yourself without me having to do it for you. Okay, I'm not a trading service. I provide the analysis. You make up your mind what you want to trade, what you don't want to trade. James, you were asking about oil. This is CL, the oil futures. This is what I'm watching at the moment. Again, I think I've posted this to Twitter a few times. We've got a really nice fork. We've got consistent resistance all the way along here. I mean, you can see how well it's hit that. Currently, we're down to an area where we're looking to see if we can find a little bit of support kicking in. I think I posted yesterday that I was looking around about the 51 level. If it came down, we're pretty much there. Let's look to see if that support does in fact manifest itself. Please do not take from this that I'm saying you should buy here or you shouldn't buy here or anything. I'm not authorized to do that. This is where the price is at the moment. If we just take it down while we're looking at oil, just let me show you this. This is a 20-minute oil chart. Again, we've been following it over the course of today pretty much. And really, you know, we've been looking at the green sliding parallels across here. All of a sudden, they started turning into resistance, and price has fallen from 52.28 down to 51.22. Again, this was an area where we thought we might find it a little bit of support. You can see the strong bar push through it. We have recovered a little bit. We're now testing the line again. At the moment, I'm not seeing anything that is looking bullish on this chart at the moment. Therefore, I would say before you look at the daily chart and you want to go long there or something, have a look and see what the 20-minute charts are doing. Have a look at the 60-minute charts, the 240-minute charts. Okay, a daily chart can't get bullish without a 20-minute chart getting bullish. So at the moment, we are at potential support on the 20-minute chart. That's as far as I'm going to say on that. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay. Guy. Is that Guy or Guy? Guy. Platinum. Can we look at platinum? Yeah, that is also here, actually. Platinum is a nice one. Let me look at the daily chart on this. Actually, this is quite an interesting one. As you can see, we've got a fork to the downside, been running very nicely here. We've got the sliding parallel that's been the support just above the lower parallel here, down at 889 or so. We've been looking at that. We were watching this horizontal. You can see the support there. Support kind of became resistance, but we moved through it very, very quickly. What are we looking at the moment? On this chart, I'm looking for resistance at the median line. Price has moved up very, very quickly. Looking to see if we find resistance here at 1001. But I'm also looking at this in conjunction with, sorry, that's palladium, the platinum, the weekly. And this is a bit of a weird one here. Platinum weekly, this is a big fork to the upside, going back to 1998. Okay, you can see the A, the B, the C. We have absolutely no idea whether or not this was going to work at all. The only thing that was interesting about it was at the same time that gold and silver were finding lows, we were seeing a bit of support coming in along this lower parallel here. So you could say that you could potentially say that because platinum moves a lot of the time with gold and silver, I'm just being very careful about what I'm saying here, because platinum does have a correlation a lot of the time with gold and silver. The very fact that we were coming down to what potentially was a line of support means on the weekly chart we're maybe not too surprised that we're seeing price move to the upside. And if I go back to the daily, you can just see that in conjunction with this support that we were finding on the sliding parallel here, maybe not too much of a surprise putting the weekly and the daily chart together, that we were seeing something to the upside. Okay. Right, just actually because I'm on the commodity page, somebody said to me literally half an hour ago, or half an hour before I started, they sent me a message on Twitter and said, "Are you going to look at uranium?" I've never looked at uranium, so what I did was I just loaded it onto here, and I have never tried to chart this at all. Okay, so it's a little bit of a shot in the blue for me. Oh my word. Yeah, great. Thanks for that. I think you know who you are. Okay. Well, look, let's start off and say this is what people are going to do. People are going to go run across here and say we've got a horizontal here. This is the line. You know, massive. Once we break out of here, massive moves to the upside. What I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to look at the downside. I'm going to chart from the downside and just go up here. Here we've got a high. Actually, let's go here. Again, I'm just going to turn it red because I like my downforks red, and obviously because there is such a long tail on this, I want to change the type of fork that we use. That is what's known as a mod shift. That is what's known as an unmodified shift, and I think that is actually working quite nicely. Just what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on some little outer lines there, and I quite like the way that's working. Okay, let's go and look at this a little bit closer. As I say, this is very much the first time I've looked at it. So what am I seeing? I'm not getting an awful lot of validation until we come down to this quartile. You can see we're getting a bunch of action here, a little bit of support, more action, more action. You've got 5 or 6 occasions where you've got price acting you've got a bit of action, got something happening along this line. The fact that it is a line of the one of the solid lines of the fork, one of the main lines of the fork, is maybe quite interesting. Looking a bit closer, look at the lower parallel. You've got resistance, you've got resistance, you've got resistance, you've got a number of bars of resistance, you've got resistance, and then here again, as we move above it, you've got quite a strong bar up and away from it. Okay, I'm beginning to quite like this fork. I like the way it's running. I would not, given what I've been telling you for earlier, having seen this resistance along this quartile here, once price moved above it, I would not have been surprised to see some kind of reaction at the upper parallel. Okay, because all these other lines of the fork have been working, this would not have surprised me. I can bet people from sort of here were getting long and thinking, you know, we're going to the moon. This is it. The moonshot's starting. Wouldn't surprise me to find that resistance there. We dropped down a little bit from there. We started pushing to the upside. As I think I showed you, I think it was with the dollar, the DX. I was talking to you about that. All I'm going to do, and again, I've never done this before, all I'm going to do is just draw something to the upside and see what we find. Let's go to a high there. Let's get to a low there. What do we see? Not a huge amount, to tell you the truth. Not a huge amount initially. A couple of things to look out for. There might be a bit of validation. The fact that we've got a bit of touch on the handle here. We've got a bit of touch there. Anything as a mod shift? Let's just try changing that. Not really. I think what I'm going to do is just say, yeah, this is potentially something that is going to work. Let's just run a sliding parallel along there. Okay, it's not horrible. I'd look to see what happens. If price keeps going to the upside, I keep a little watch and see if we get anything on the median line. If it moves a little bit above it, I'd run a sliding parallel off that high, see if we get resistance there. If it moves above that, well, I think hopefully by now you're getting the idea of what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the next places that we might find a bit of resistance, really until we get sufficient bars in here to tell us what's happening. Just one thing I might also do, as I showed you with, I think it was the gold earlier on, I'm just going to put some outer lines on there, just see if they do anything. The fact that we are just reflecting around this median line here, you can see we moved out, we got support here, support here. Just going to look and see if we see anything along that quartile or that warning line out there. Okay. Now I hope the person that asked me about uranium that was interesting. So it was for me. It's the first time I looked at it. So yeah, we'll keep a watch on that, see what happens. Brock, you're saying, have you got anything Canadian? I'm Canadian. Have you got anything Canadian? Of course we have, Brock. Let's have a look. What should we do? Let's look at this on a daily basis. I know what I'm going to do. Okay, this is a slightly different daily chart on Canadian. Okay, it's again a modified shift. Let me show you where it is. The base is back here in 2014, and what I quite like about this is the way the action is really encompassed in what we're seeing along this the quartile underneath that, the sliding parallel just underneath it, and in terms of support, we've got a sliding parallel here, and we've also got the lower parallel. So really, what we're doing by just drawing this very simply for you is showing the trend, showing what we have in terms of. Oh, hang on, you want shorter term? Have we got anything shorter term? Yeah. Let me just finish here. This is just showing the trend that we have. Okay, we're slowly moving to the upside. What I would take from this chart is one thing. You can see the resistance that we have along here at the median line. There's a bit of a gap, sorry, not the median line, the sliding parallel, there's a bit of a gap to this high here. That is telling us resistance is potentially lowered, okay? When resistance lowers, you have to be a little bit careful about your support. So maybe I'm gonna think about the lower parallel giving way. I might start looking at something like that. Same distance that we are from there to there, I'd be looking lower parallel to there. So maybe just keep a little eye on that. Brock has said, can we go and look at that on a shorter time frame? Don't have a problem with that, Brock. Let's go and have a look at, where are we? Canadian 2.4. Actually, no. What do we like? Canadian 60. Actually, again, this shows. This is probably a wee bit esoteric. Okay, we're looking at an up fork, but we're looking at price moving down. Okay, ever since we had this resistance here in the line of the fork, we had support resistance along the quartile. We fell to the lower parallel. We moved up above the lower parallel. Since then, we then found resistance there. We started moving to the downside again. Okay, we basically just stepped down. And what I mean by stepping down is support becomes resistance, and along this line as well, the support becomes resistance, and that's what we're watching. Is that okay, Brock? Don't want to spend too much time just on the Canadian. Carolyn is saying, let me just read this, sorry. Somebody was showing New Zealand Japanese yen on Twitter as a fork. What do you have there? Sure, let me just show you that. What I assume we're looking longer periods on this. Let's go and have a look. Here we go. Kiwi yen. That's the euro yen. We've looked at that. Kiwi yen. Oh yeah, there we go. Kiwi yen. Right. Okay. Again, this is quite a weird fork. Goes back to 2000. All the action, as you can see, since we formed the C, has been in the lower part. We've effectively had a channel of action between the median line and the quartile support. Okay, and the other channel of action has been between the quartile and the lower parallel. So we watched price. I mean, this is back to 2015. It started dipping all the way since then. The important line here, again, what I was just talking about now, support becoming resistance. Yeah, the green line, you can see the support there become resistance. That tells us we're moving to the downside. Again, we were looking for support in the region of the lower parallel. We found that. We started moving to the upside. I reckon an awful lot of people are going to tell you that the reason that we found resistance across here, that the price moved down from here a few weeks back, was because of the horizontal. I'm also looking at this sliding parallel. Look at that. The support across there, where's the first place you'd expect resistance? There, we hit it, we started falling down again. Was that the chart, Carolyn? Was that the chart he was looking at? She was looking at? Very different. Let's have a look on the daily. Maybe we can get that looking the same. Again, there we go. Kiwi. Oh, here we go. Kiwi yen. I think I must have posted this to the guys earlier. Yeah. I mean, oh, here we go. Here's the horizontal again. Right. Horizontal, resistance, support, resistance there. But look, we look at what we got in the chart. This has been running very, very nicely indeed. You can see the support we've got in the line of the chart, the angle that we moved up in. Price has moved up strongly. Resistance across there. We hit that. We've fallen away from that. We were looking to see if we would find support along the median line. Okay, it previously been resistance. Could we find support there? No, we dipped underneath it. And I think I posted this into chat for members a little bit earlier. I was looking at this green sliding parallel just to look to see if the support can continue here. Okay, that's what I was looking at. Folks, I am running out of steam a little bit there. I've been going for an hour. I'm sure that's enough for all of you as well. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for your time, for your questions. I hope it's given you a little bit of an idea of what it is that I do, the slightly different approach that I take. As I say, if you are interested, please visit the website. If you want to ask questions, email me, no problem at all. I'm very happy to do that. And as I say, we have got an offer on the go at the moment. You can have a month's access for $50. If in the first couple of weeks you find it's not for you, I'm happy to give you all the money back. Special New Year offer. Okay. I will send out an email, as I said, after this, just giving you all those details and also a copy of the recording so you can go through things at your own rate. Great. Well, thank you very much indeed. I hope that has been of help to you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks a lot. Bye.